Make no mistake, psychological injury sustained in the workplace can be just as, if not more damaging than a serious physical injury. Which is why I want to highlight workers' compensation for psychological injuries and hopefully help you determine if you have a valid claim. In over 15 years of personal injury law, I've seen some devastating psychological injuries wreak havoc on an individual, their family, and their wider support network. And like physical injuries, psychological injuries don't discriminate. They can strike you down at any time. And claiming workers' compensation can often be the only way to help you get your life back on track. A psychological injury is when an individual suffers from a diagnosable psychiatric condition that is usually caused by a particular event or series of events. In the workplace, these events can be a traumatic event, bullying, harassment, working dangerous hours, intimidation, stress, or a physical injury, just to name a few. Under the New South Wales Workers' Compensation System, or work cover as it's often referred to, the following psychological injuries are the most commonly claimed. Post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, and adjustment disorder. In order to be eligible to make a psychological injury workers' compensation claim, you not only have to have a psychological condition, but you have to prove the injury arose out of or in the course of employment, and that work was a main contributing factor. We recently represented a client who had lodged a workers' compensation claim as a result of bullying and harassment. The insurer declined his claim on the basis that the employer's actions were reasonable. We were able to obtain statements from his former co-workers that set out how he was treated compared to other employees. In the end, we were able to prove that the employer's actions were not reasonable and obtain all the compensation that he was entitled to, which helped him get his life back on track. The process involved in claiming workers' compensation for psychological injuries is quite different to physical injuries, and in a lot of cases, more complex. Navigating the workers' compensation system on your own, particularly when you're unwell, can be an extremely difficult task, which is why it's best to speak to a workers' compensation specialist, even if for just free advice, in order to understand your options. Hopefully, this has been helpful to you, but if you're still unsure about psychological injuries or need help with your claim, call Law Partners and have a confidential conversation with one of our specialist workers' compensation lawyers today.